Hello and welcome to the Be Free podcast. Today I have someone who has actually been on the podcast. I'm not sure. Was it on the podcast? Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just membership. Not, oh no, it was podcast.
No, I can't
Maybe.
remember
Who knows?
either.
Anyway, I'll get the introduction out of the way. So I have the lovely Lesley Stonier here with me today, and I'm really excited to have this conversation. We have been yapping for quite a while before we went live on life and catching up, and she's such a beautiful um lovely light in this world. So I'm so glad. Hello, Lesley. How are you?
Hi, Susie. Yeah, I'm really good. I'm really good. I'm really excited to be here.
Amazing. So Lesley and I met a number of years ago, and at that point in time, we were looking to do some work around affirmations for my members. And that's something that I am like hugely, hugely passionate about is working with affirmations, and I have been using them a lot on this healing journey. And yeah, like how did you come to create this magical business that you have now, Lesley, with oracle cards and a book and all the things you do in and around affirmation work?
Yeah, so I think the first thing to say was that I never set out to create this.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, in part of the story, really. So I had a corporate marketing career for a very long time, and I got really burnt out with it.
Hmm.
And I left and decided to set up my own business, helping women market their startup businesses. Then I found myself getting burnt out with that too. And it's a bit like the Taylor Swift song, I'm the problem, it's me. It
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily the
I know. I
jobs.
like I kind of love that song, but then sometimes it's kind of annoying, isn't it? You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to be the problem. I want to be, well, we are the
Yeah,
solution as well, aren't we? I guess.
we are indeed. And so um it was actually the kind of real pivotal moment was I was going through, I was getting divorced
Mhm.
and I was breaking up with my ex-husband. And as we were talking, or as he was talking, I heard these words pop into my head. This is all just the stories we tell ourselves. And I was like, what? And I kind of looked over my shoulder because I didn't know where it had come from.
Mhm.
And kind of carried on with the current situation, and we separated, and that was that. And so I felt like my life was kind of starting over again, and there was a bit of how did I end up here going on.
Yeah.
So I started getting into personal development, and I was reading books like You Can Heal Your Life, by Louise Hay,
Mhm.
and Dr. Wayne Dyer stuff, and Gabby Bernstein, The Universe Has Got Your Back. And then a friend of mine was like, oh, why don't you use affirmation? And I was like, what are affirmations? And she kind of told me about them, and I was like nodding along thinking like, this sounds like la la
Yeah.
land. Like, what good is saying a bunch of words that I clearly don't believe gonna do? But I found an old pack of affirmation cards in a charity shop. They were Louise Hay affirmation cards, and I've still got them here. They're my favourites,
Oh,
other than my own.
yeah.
And so I just bought them and I started using them. And every night, my daughter, she was probably one at the time, would she'd be in bed and then I'd just sit on the floor pulling cards. And we were living back at home in my mum's apartment in my old bedroom that I'd had as a teenager. So it was one of those like moments where you're like, I spent my whole life trying to get out of this
Yeah.
and like find my life, and then I'd kind of landed back there. So I needed the affirmation. It was like I needed that positivity. And
Hmm.
so I would just pull them. I'd pull three cards and I'd repeat them as I looked in the mirror. And then I was like, now what? Kind of thing. And just carried on. I did some journaling and was reading all these personal development bits. But the more I used them, the more I was like, oh, this is quite nice. It's making me feel better.
Yeah.
So I just kept doing it and I kept on with it. I was a bit like, what have I got to lose? And then I noticed that stuff was like changing. So it started by how I felt, but then also kind of things around me would happen that I'd been repeating, like, someone would compliment me on something that I'd been affirming, or
Mm-hmm.
um, I'd get invited to do something, or like a new client would come in. And at
Yeah.
this time, like, it was quite well, it was a really hard time in my life, and it just felt there was obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, and I was trying to climb this uphill battle. And the affirmations felt like absolute magic, because
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden there were like little breakthroughs and little bits of joy again, and little bits of like things working out.
Yeah.
And one of the affirmations was like, everything's working out for
Everything is
me,
working out
everything's
for
getting
me.
better and
Everything is
better.
working out for me.
Yeah,
Everything is working
say
out
it
for me.
constantly. Yeah. And so I was just like, what is this stuff? Like, it's magic, it's real magic. But then I started researching them more and understanding more about how our minds work, and how the stories we tell ourselves create our reality.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really the thread, that those words I'd heard in that bar as that we'd been splitting up became like a guiding force, and it led me to teachers and to affirmations, and then to learn more about affirmations. And then it was during lockdown, like the first lockdown in the UK, and I'd been my daughter had woken up in the night, and I'd resettled her, and then I was like meditating to try and get myself back to sleep.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like half awake, half asleep, suddenly had all these words pop into my head. And so I just, it was so, it was such a like download moment. I started writing everything down in my iPhone notes,
Yeah.
and then I just put my phone to the side and fell asleep. And that was that. And then the next day, I was like, what was that? That was so weird. And I kind of looked through it all, and I was like, oh, these are all affirmations. And then there was the name, The Empowered Woman,
Mm-hmm.
and I counted them, and I was like, oh, there's 52. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
maybe I should create my own deck of affirmation cards. And then that was the thought. And I was like, obviously I'd never done it before. I didn't know if I could do it.
Yeah.
Didn't know if I could afford to do it. Um, but that became like a good feeling thought. And so I just followed that path. And through lockdown, I like created a version of some samples, got them printed, shared them with my friends.
Mm.
And then I found an illustrator on Instagram that I liked the style of, and all these synchronicities started happening. So I live in Brighton, and she was like, I'm just about to move to Brighton. And then we met up, and we got on like a house on fire, and now she's a really good friend. And
Oh.
yeah, so it took a while. They took about 9 months, took about a year in the end, from like the
Mm-hmm.
actual idea to launching. But during that time, the money arrived to enable me to print and produce them, design them,
Yeah.
um, and invest in them. And yeah, now we're 2 years down the line. I've sold 500 packs of cards to women all
It's
over
so
the world,
amazing.
and written a book to go with it. So yeah,
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I think, thinking back to that moment, you in your mum's bedroom and like your old bedroom, just, using affirmations to support you. And I think, a lot of people can probably relate to that feeling of like, oh God, like why would this work? And I know briefly before we started recording, touched on I'm doing some CBT just now. Um, and in that we're kind of like going over old ground of, when you're feeling anxious, what are you feeling? What's happening? Da 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 da. Um, and I think it's a really valuable thing that you said that, the affirmations were making you feel better. And if something's making us feel better, then why wouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't we affirm the positive? Why
yeah.
wouldn't you use that as a tool to support yourself? So, obviously you've done loads of like research and all the things with the affirmations and what you're doing. But why is it that affirmations work? What is it that they do?
So there's this part in your brain called the reticular activating system, which filters and processes all of the information we receive every single day. And so it's always working. And we kind of, our intake of stimulus and information is probably about between like 70,000 and 90,000 like different bits of input every single day. And we're like, we couldn't process that with our senses. We couldn't see it all, feel it all, sense it all,
Mhm.
hear it all, take it in. So that's all being done like subconsciously. And our reticular activating system uses our belief system to pull into our consciousness and awareness what really matters to us.
Yeah.
So the example that's given everywhere is like, if you decide to buy a certain type of car, let's say a red car, then
Mhm.
you start seeing that type of red car
Mhm.
everywhere, and whereas you didn't notice it before.
Yeah.
And so it's like setting that intention, or almost reprogramming your mind to say what matters to you or what's important.
Mhm.
Your mind then serves you more of what it is you're looking for, or what
Mhm.
it is you want, or what it is you desire, or what it is you believe. And so affirmations work in the way that they tell your reticular activating system what's important to you. And it's through the repetition of like repeating them during your day and seeing them around your house and writing them down in your journal
Mhm.
that that kind of seeping into the subconscious takes place. Now, the thing with affirmations, and like I say this, like you don't have to believe them for them to be able to work. You can
Mhm.
just work on repetition, but they're also really useful to highlight any limiting beliefs as well,
Yeah.
because instantly your gut will crunch. If you don't believe it,
Mhm.
it will signal to you, your body will signal to you, well, that's, and then your mind will start going, well, that's rubbish, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you feel like you're lying to yourself. And this is especially powerful when you look in the mirror, because you can justify it away in your head, but when you're
Mhm.
facing yourself in the mirror, you can't, there's nowhere to hide because you can see it in your own eyes.
Mhm.
So what I started to notice was the affirmations that I didn't feel were really true or possible were the areas where I needed to do more work, or to do
Yeah.
more work to shift those beliefs. And some were easier to shift than others.
Mhm.
And it's always an ongoing process and a journey. So it's not just like one affirmation is going to change your life, because we have so many deep rooted beliefs and thoughts and feelings.
Mhm.
But yeah, affirmations, in the book, I explain that it's a bit like, if you imagine a mountain, the affirmations are like, if you're, I don't know, if it's raining on top of the mountain, that water
Yeah.
will seep into the mountain and trickle down eventually. Whereas if you do the deep inner work to shift your limiting beliefs, to reprogram your subconscious mind, that's like shoring up the foundation of the mountain, so it's not going to collapse basically.
Mhm.
But they really do work. So repetition, keep saying them to yourselves, keep repeating them to yourselves. And when you look at the belief that you had before and why you don't quite believe it, and then use an affirmation, it's like you're creating awareness around that belief that's been instilled in you that you
Mhm.
probably were totally unaware of because you've never really thought about it. And
Mhm.
that's when you can clear that space to embed the affirmation more. So
Mhm.
they're really, really powerful.
Amazing, amazing. So yeah, so just as you were speaking there, I thought that was really valuable what you were saying about checking in with your body. So as you were speaking, I was like saying to myself, I am a calm and confident driver. And I was like, oh, that felt okay. And then I was like, I'm calm and confident driving on the dual carriageway. And my stomach went, "Bleh."
Yeah. So you know
I was like,
that, and
ah, okay, interesting.
it's such a good practice to get into.
Mhm.
And that is in part why I then trained in EFT, which is
Mhm.
freedom technique, or tapping, and matrix re-imprinting, which is using tapping to reprogram your subconscious mind. It's like a deeper, more advanced form. Um, because there are just some beliefs that are going to hang on.
Yeah.
And that's because they're associated with some form of trauma
Mhm.
where you were in fight or flight or freeze, and you weren't able to take care of yourself in the way that you needed to or wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like stuck in you. And so it's like trying to stick a plaster on a broken arm or something. Like, the
Yeah.
affirmation can't do that job, because that is such a powerful embedded belief that
Mm-hmm.
needs a deeper level of work.
Yeah.
And so the two in combination are really powerful. And EFT and tapping uses a lot of like affirmative language and affirmative words anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt really drawn to it. And then when I experienced it myself, I was like, oh yeah, this is like, it's like the matrix re-imprinting is the subconscious reprogramming, and it's like inner child work on steroids. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And I was just seeing like myself, clients just make transformational shifts where things that have been holding them back for years are just not a problem anymore at all. So
I
yeah, the two,
love it. I love it. It's
like,
so
powerful
powerful.
combo. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking that jumping back a little bit on something you said just for listeners. So you'd mentioned like you journaled affirmations, just thinking about people who are maybe new to the practice, like you
Yeah.
mentioned saying them in front of the mirror. I write my affirmations down, I repeat them out loud, I repeat them in my head. You can put post-its up, you could have
Yeah.
a framed. I've got an affirmation up there. Actually, a friend gave me a big print which says you're capable of amazing things. Like,
Yeah.
you can use them in so many different ways, can't you?
You really can. So the cards, I've got the cards. So you like, you can just say them, or you can write them, or you can write your own. I've got a course which includes how to write your own.
Hmm.
Um, I like having the cards because I think there's something magical with the cards, that the right ones just seem to pop out whenever you pull
Absolutely.
them. And I can't explain it other than um, it's you being drawn to what you need and what you need to listen to from yourself. It's not that the cards are magic, it's that there's something inside of you that needs that specific message at that
Yeah.
time.
And I love that about your cards, that they really are like the perfect cards to pull on the daily. Like,
Yeah.
what do I need to know? And Leslie's cards are all really empowering affirmations for women that I feel like, yeah, they guide you that little bit deeper as well. And I guess
Yeah,
that's where the book comes in, isn't it?
absolutely, absolutely. In fact, there's a whole chapter on in the book on how to like amp up your affirmation practice. So from like how to journal with them, and the book is full of journal prompts. So every affirmation card kind of explanation and guidance has 3 journal prompts to go alongside it. So you can really
Amazing.
like challenge yourself on these beliefs. Um, the cards are also available as a selection of prints. So I handpicked my favorite 10 cards, and they're available to shop on my website. So I just have them, I have them around the house. I have little card holders. So what I used to do when I would pull a card, then I would just, I've got a little rose quartz crystal card holder. So I just pop it in that, and then it's out and about. And like when I was using the Louise Hay ones, I used to have about 20 out at a time
Yeah.
and just be like
My
trying to
altar's like
fuel
that. There's
the
like
message.
cards for the week, cards for the day, cards for the
Yeah.
moment.
And I would just have this almost rampage of affirmations that I could just reel off in my head. And still to this day, I still use it. And it feels so good now. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is, it's
Hmm.
really powerful. Mirror work. So just looking in the mirror, repeating them, because you're facing yourself and saying, I love you and I am enough. And it's super powerful because we don't do that, and we should. Um, Not we should, but
Yeah.
it's really important. If you don't do it, try it. It's powerful stuff. Um, yeah, having them around the house, having I've got a couple of affirmation meditations on my website that are free, so you can go and download those. They're really great to listen to either first thing in the morning or at night, and just let them
Yeah.
deep in.
I was going to say that
Um,
I do that at nighttime, listen to a lot of affirmations as I'm going to sleep into that subconscious state, depending on what I feel I'm needing. So if it's,
yeah,
yeah, like courage right now is what I'm listening to, loads of affirmations about being courageous.
yeah.
Um,
It's
yeah.
such a good way to do it because it's kind of like they're doing the work for you
Mm,
while you're sleeping. So it's, and your brain is in that state of being able to absorb it straight into the subconscious. So that's really good
mm.
too. Um,
I
and
guess one
yeah,
thing we haven't actually said is like, what is an affirmation?
so an affirmation is a statement or sentence said in the positive, tends to use I am or I have or I can or I will, but I am is
Hmm.
most powerful because it's a commandment to yourself of
Yeah.
like you are. Um, and it's what it does is empowers you and kind of puts you into this state of feeling more confident and more capable, and kind of gives you that inner strength and inner power to say, yes, I am this. Yes, I
Yeah.
am this. It opens a
Step
space
into
to
that.
believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because I think the thing is, we do use like people may think they don't use affirmations, but they probably use affirmations all
Yeah.
the time, but maybe negative ones like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm so shit at my job, I'm fat, I'm, as you say, and the I am part is so powerful. That's what our mind and our body's listening to.
Yeah. We're
Um,
always affirming, like our words are like magic spells. And so
mhm,
whatever we're saying, that is the story we're telling ourselves, whether it's good or bad, positive, negative, or anywhere in between. And so have the intention to use that to your advantage by, you know, shifting your focus into the positive and the direction you want to go in and choose for your life. Let the rest fall away, because simply by focusing on what you want over what you don't want, the
mhm,
rest will fall away anyway.
yeah,
And what that does is allow you, so because the reticular activating system will bring that evidence to you to show
mm,
you more of that, then the more you say it, the more evidence you create for it, so the more you
mhm,
believe it. And that's really how they work. It like
yeah.
creates the evidence so you can believe it, so that more of it can happen
Mhm.
for
I
you.
think that's something that's really supported me this year actually on my healing journey is that beginning to excuse me, move from focusing on the negative attributes and everything that's going wrong and all the things I couldn't do, and you get so consumed in that cycle um that just focusing on micro moments to start
Yeah,
with of joy, or just my dog's lying down here in the sunshine beside me, that's really beautiful, not whatever other thoughts,
yeah,
so you're beginning to connect with that life that you desired, and doing focusing on the things that you can do as opposed to the things you can, I found really powerful.
absolutely. Like that was, I think that was one of the pivotal moments for me in really going down this journey. Was so when I was getting divorced, everyone would kind of like be like, "Oh, how are you?" with that kind of
Yeah.
like side head pitying, like, "Oh God." And if I opened myself up to respond with what was really happening,
Yeah.
I would have been down a rabbit hole for life, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, I hated it because I was like, well, what can I say? And what, like, I can't say to people, I don't want to talk about it
Yeah.
because, like, I've just, but, and so I decided to use an affirmation in response. So anytime anyone asked me what was going on, I'd just be like, oh, everything's getting better and better. It's getting better all the time.
Hmm.
And I didn't
I use
believe a
that
word of
daily as well, that one.
it.
My driving's getting better every day
Yeah.
it's getting better and better.
And like I didn't believe a word of it at first, but I kept doing it. And then
Hmm.
slowly but surely it did start to get better. And then I was like, I'm not lying to myself anymore. It is better.
Hmm.
It's like tiny increments, and then it would be more increments, but it did get better. And so I think if you can allow yourself that grace, that like you have to start somewhere, and it's
Hmm.
all in that choice of like, if you keep doing what you're doing, it is never going to change. But if you allow yourself to believe in something you can't yet see or can't yet feel or don't yet know if it's possible, but you want to believe it's possible.
Mm.
Simply the fact that you're willing to believe something different. And
Yeah.
that can be enough, actually. That's a really, really powerful way to do it. It's like if you find your stomach crunching on one, like about you driving on the motorway,
Mhm.
it's like, I'm willing to believe that I can be calm, confident, and capable driving on the motorway. I'm
Mhm.
willing to believe it. Even you don't have to believe that you're there doing it yet, but you're willing to believe it's possible. You're willing to believe you can get there.
Yeah.
That is enough to start the
Mm.
positive momentum and open you up to those changes.
Yeah, I've heard that before, and I always forget about that aspect that, like, I am willing to believe. I am willing to,
Yeah,
yeah, I love that. Yeah, popping that in front of one that maybe feels a lot more challenging. So
definitely.
yeah, I'll definitely use that. And then obviously you mentioned you went and trained in EFT, and that's something that
Yeah,
I've been using as well through this journey for all sorts of different things.
it's brilliant. I
Balance,
love it.
EFT for everything. Balance, COVID, ear pain, anxiety, panic, fear,
Yeah.
yeah, self-love, all the things.
All the things. It's such a brilliant tool. And like I went into it a bit blindly. It again, someone suggested it. And then I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then another person suggested it and another person, and it just kept coming up. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, universe, I'm listening. I'll go and train. And yeah, I didn't just go and do it. I went and trained in it
Yeah.
without actually having had a session, which is
I
probably
just
a bit wild. But I just felt like I knew it was like a next step.
Mhm.
And I had a lot of like resistance going to the training on that first day. And I was like, no, 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 this is going to be transformational. And it really was. And it really was. And I think the biggest thing for me with EFT is that I've always felt things really deeply. And
Mhm.
so I like used to shut off that because I was scared that those feelings would like totally overwhelm me and I wouldn't be able to get out of those feelings. And I think EFT has given me the tools to be able to work through those deeper feelings and process my emotions, and not be afraid to face
Mhm.
them and feel them, because I know that I've got the tools to be able to move through them, however challenging that might be.
Yeah.
And so it's like it releases a lot of that resistance, because now I can just be like, okay, cool, let's go and tap on it, or I can do subconscious reprogramming on myself, or I work with one of the girls I trained with and we do swap sessions so that
Yeah.
we both have that emotional support available. And what it does is, so my belief is that as you like, our job through our lifetime is to like let go of all the stuff that stops us being who we really are, and who we're destined to be. And we have all these stories and beliefs that have kind of been put on us or internalized or forced on us or created by us. And we have to get rid of all this stuff. We have to kind of unbecome all the things we were told to be and become
Mhm.
ourselves again. And I like, so as you remove these limiting beliefs and these ideas and thoughts and concepts that have kept you small or stuck or frustrated or doing things you don't want to do or people pleasing or whatever, um, they clear space. And that space means more of what you want can come in, but it
Mhm.
also means more of what's been holding you back can come up too.
Yeah.
So it's like a never ending journey in a
Never-ending
really good way.
shitstorm of cleaning and sunshine, and then cleaning and sunshine.
It's often the way that when you start to work on yourself and clear stuff,
Mhm.
that more stuff bubbles up, right?
Absolutely.
But and there will always be more stuff that bubbles up, but it will get easier and lighter, and you will get more adept at dealing with it and moving through it and trusting that you can move through it. And
Yeah.
like I had a client who worked with me on my program for tapping. She worked with me in February, and she's just like been like, I want to do some more sessions, and it's because it's going really well. She's doing really well, and she's like a VP of sales, and she's just smashed her quarter one target, which was part of the vision we set for the work. but it's like, but there's more stuff, and she wants to grow more
Yeah.
as well. So it's like with growth comes that you have to clear the space to be able to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think it's so valuable to have these techniques and tools that you can do when these new things arise, or old new things arise for us to
Yeah,
deal
for
with, that
sure.
you can do that. So if people want to like book a session with you, or what do you have going on now that people can access your work? I've worked with Lesley before. I did some branding sessions with Lesley, and I found it so helpful from a business point of view and a life point of view, at that time. And she's incredible to work with, so I highly
Thank
recommend it.
you. Oh, I really appreciate that, Susie. Thank you.
Mhm.
So I have the book and the cards, and they are kind of the entry points to my work. I have a number of masterclasses and courses on my website as well, which are like 1 hour sessions or mini courses. Um, but the kind of my signature work is I have a program called Untapped, which is all about removing the limiting beliefs holding you back from your true potential. And that is a 5-week program where we use tapping, coaching, and subconscious reprogramming to clear out that old stuff, embed new empowering beliefs, so you can go on and like my client, smash her sales target, or get to where you want to go, do the things, get on, move forward with confidence and clarity. And so that session it's always ongoing. So that program. Um, and then I have 2 other programs which are the kind of heartland of my work, or my background, which is marketing. So the first is called Magic Inside, and it's for new coaches, entrepreneurs, new business owners who know that they've got something to give but don't know how to express who
Mhm.
they are, what's unique about them, what their voice and story are. And what we do is uncover what your unique magic is, and then we look at your tone of voice, your founder story, your services, your offers, your pricing, your social media, your marketing. And so you have a kind of fully fledged business ready to go as soon as you're ready to go. And
So exciting.
that that's some great work. I love doing that, and
Mhm.
it's it's helped a lot of people who have just been starting out get their first clients, get their business off the ground, and then soar from there.
Mhm.
And then my VIP program is called Unlock Your Story, and that's for more established founders and leaders, senior leaders in business, CEOs, to really hone in on what are the stories that make you you,
Mhm.
what is the essence of who you are, what is your brand and leadership all about. And we pull those stories out of you together, and I help you write and craft those stories so that you have a library of go-to stories for interviews, for PR, for leading your team, for your website, etc. And that is it's such a powerful package, because the way I work isn't like it all comes from the inside and then we bring it out. So
Mhm.
I really draw it out of who you truly are and who you know you are here to be. And yeah, I've worked with senior leaders from Nike, people who worked at Tatler. Like I worked with Santander UK Bank to help
Mhm.
with some of their entrepreneurial work. So I've got a really good kind of understanding of how to craft stories to make real impact
Yeah.
in for who you are. And so
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
that's
that's it. I would say that that's something I really got from our experience together. Yeah, pulling those stories out as well. And
yeah,
yeah, so
love
definitely
it.
I will pop all of Leslie's details below. If you're watching this on YouTube or the podcast, you can find them all in the show notes to connect with her there. And yeah, I'm just laughing in my head because when I worked with Lesley, one of the things that came out was I was like having a chat show with Oprah.
Yes.
So that's still yet to manifest. Who knows? Maybe that is coming. But Oprah and I,
Never say, honestly, in a
BFFs.
few years, Susie, we'll be like, do you remember that time?
I've still got my Oprah picture. I'm in my house just now, but on my actual work desk, Oprah's there pointing at me, going, "You go, girl."
You've got it.
So
You've got it.
yeah,
So,
love it, love it, love it. Is there anything you want to add before we jump off for anyone that's listening?
I would just say it all begins with belief, and that belief is within you, and no one's going to give it to you. You have to choose it for yourself. And it's really hard to build anything of value without valuing yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
so the core of my teaching is that that's where we start, and then we build everything off of that. So start with you, put yourself first, and believe in yourself, and the rest will all follow.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so, so much for being here
You're
today
welcome.
and
Thank you for
connecting
having me.
again. And it's been so good.
It's been
So
lovely.
guys, go give Lesley a follow, check her out on Instagram, go grab her meditations from her website, all of those things. And I will look forward to chatting to you again real soon. Bye.